Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast live. Yes. So I got some things I definitely wanted to talk about tonight, so I figured I'll hop on here and I'll do a live show and really get my thoughts out and also hopefully give an opportunity for whoever pops in to listen to the show and call in if they want to. But before we do that, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. What's going on, everybody? So thanks for popping in. Sneed, what's up, my man? Been looking out for you. Haven't seen you in the last few lives, but good to see you back in the chat, man. So if you're coming in, please, as I just mentioned in my little blurb there, make sure you're hitting that like button. It really helps us out a lot. And make sure you hit that share too. Share it out to other people you know that love sports talk and might want to hop in and add something to the chat or hear what I got to say. But you know what? Let's go ahead and let's get right to it, man, because we got a doozy tonight. And as you can see from the rundown, the first topic is the WNBA and Caitlyn Clark. And this is something, man, that I've been giving so much thought to, and obviously it's top of mind or front of mind or however you want to put it. And it's been one of the major stories in the sports media lately, right? And I guess probably the biggest sports story right now is Caitlyn Clark and her adjustment to the WNBA, how other members of the WNBA and the sports media on the whole are handling that story, which is crazy. And realistically, this is probably too much to handle in one topic segment, but I'm gonna go for it, give it a shot, do what I can, because I definitely had some thoughts that I wanted to share on that. So if you're here right now, I think it's a fair assumption that you know who Caitlyn Clark is and you know what she's done in college. You know she was the #1 draft pick in the WNBA, etc. And Caitlyn Clark has had a ton of storylines surrounding her since college, her rivalry with Angel Reese and LSU, her breaking records, etc. There's a whole bunch of stuff around Caitlyn Clark and the WNBA and all that mixed together. And we're going to try to get into some of that tonight. And realistically, I'm not even sure where to start. I got some notes here, so bear with me. And we're going to try to get through it because it's a lot. So let's go back to college a little bit. Caitlyn Clark, obviously superstar at Iowa. And real quick, I thought this was so interesting that the way narratives work in the media, right? So one of the narratives that gets pushed is Caitlyn Clark being, a girl from the heartland, a middle America girl. She stayed home to go to college, and she did. Technically, she's from Iowa. She went to Iowa and played for the Hawkeyes. But what a lot of people leave out, and I'm not sure why that is, she wanted to go to UConn and play for legendary coach Gino Auriemma. They didn't recruit her, so that's how she ended up at Iowa. So, again, the narratives, and don't get me wrong, I'm part of the sports media. I'm part of the media, period. So that narrative thing is tough. I guess sometimes people leave out information because it makes for a better story. But the fact is, she did want to go to UConn, and Gino Auriemma, he's on record saying that he didn't recruit her to go there. And obviously, I'm sure he wishes he did, even though he's got a heck of a team and some great players there anyway. But she's the all-time leading scorer in NCAA basketball history, men's or women's, and she's one of the most exciting female basketball players ever. Now, let me make a quick note and let me be clear on something, right? Me personally, and this is no shot at Caitlyn Clark, I take that scoring record with a grain of salt. Why do I take it with a grain of salt? Because Pistol Pete, when he was in college, he was the previous scoring record leader. He was not allowed to play varsity as a freshman, so he had a year of playing on the JV that didn't count towards his statistics. Also, when Pistol Pete was there was no three-point line. So I think it was former LSU coach Dale Brown. I think that's what it was. He actually looked at the film, tracked all of Pistol Pete's shots, and did a shot chart. And if they had threes back then, Pistol Pete would have averaged 58 points per game. And that's only over a 3-year career, not even 4. So take that how you will. I'm taking it to say there's no way anybody ever gets near that record if there were threes when Pistol Pete plays. So we got to look at all that stuff, right? It's one of those things when I hear in any sport, when I hear about the records, I think we automatically should make a delineation point for when rules change to change how records were accrued, right? But that doesn't mean Caitlin Clark is not all-time great, because she is. Anyway, so she broke the scoring record. She played for the national championship twice with a team that wasn't as good as the teams that she played against. So clearly she was I'm not going to say that she got no help, but obviously she was the main cog and she carried those teams, right? She came up short both times for the national championship. We got to make sure we're honest about that, right? Because just to take it to the pros, when LeBron loses, I make sure I say it. I don't give anybody a pass for losing. Now, is there can we utilize context in observing why losing happens? We absolutely can. But at the end of the day, like my guy Rob Parker says from Fox Sports Radio, sports has a short menu, wins and losses, and at the end of the day, she's got two on the biggest stage in college basketball. Regardless, she is one of the greatest players in college basketball history. Okay, so she broke the scoring record. She played for the chip twice, lost both. But in the same time, she was a catalyst for viewing records of women's college basketball on television. There's no doubt about that. Her rivalry with Angel Reese also caused some other issues. And if you want, you can kind of get more on that if you look back through the channel maybe about a month or two ago, where I discussed my thoughts on the whole Angel Reese situation and her comments after the semifinals loss to Iowa last season. There was a whole lot there, and I had a lot to say about that. I did a lot of thinking and did that. Melvin Lyons, what up, L Boogie? Good to see you, bro. This Caitlin Clark narrative is ridiculous. Let's see what we got. She was bad in college. Let's see what she's gonna. Right. No, she's absolutely good for the sport, and we're gonna get to that, man. Thanks for stopping in, L Boogie. Appreciate you, man. So where were we? Okay, so yeah, so you can, like I said, you can check my previous show for some Angel Reese comments. That's a whole nother thing that I really got into and I gave some serious thoughts to. Okay, so back to Caitlin Clark, right? So she was playing in the Final Four last year, and it was pretty interesting the way they set it up. They had Diana Taurasi, who a lot of people see as the GOAT in the women's game, greatest of all time. She was on a simulcast with Sue Bird. I think they played together at UConn, and they were kind of discussing different things and having different guests while watching the game and giving their thoughts. They had Cheryl Miller on there, who was another one who's in the GOAT argument for women. They had Kelsey Plum on there, who was the previous women's scoring champion before Caitlin Clark broke it. So that was actually pretty interesting to watch if you love basketball, period. So one of the biggest comments that made waves during the simulcast were the comments made by Diana Taurasi. And this is kind of, I want to say, where it all started media-wise.
Reality is coming.
Okay.
There's levels to this thing, and that's just life. We all went through it.
Of course.
And you see it on the NBA side, and you're going to see it on this side, where you look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Not saying that it's not going to translate, because when you're great at what you do, you're just going to get better. But there is going to be a transition period where you're going to have to give yourself some grace as a rookie. It might take a little bit longer for some people.
So Timothy Taylor, what's up? Thanks for coming in the chat. And this was an interesting comment. Majority of WNBA players only practice against black male basketball players in the offseason. That's the only way Clark is going to get better. And there may be some truth to that. And you'll hear later in this segment, I've got some sound from her saying how she grew up playing against males, and that's nothing to her. So we're going to get to that. But you're probably right. And I'm sure, being Indiana Fever, she will probably get the opportunity to practice against the Pacers and those guys. So I'm sure I'm sure that's going to be legit. Yeah, yes, Need, she did speak truths. But here's the thing about it, right? She spoke truths, but as it is in this modern society, everybody went nuts. They called her a hater. They said she was jealous. But to me, and based on what we're seeing now, it sounds like she sure knew what she was talking about, right? And at the end of the day, right? And this is something I always do when people call me a hater, no matter what I'm talking about. I ask one very simple question. What did I say that wasn't true? And so we can apply that same logic to Diana Taurasi for anyone who says she was a hater. What did she say that wasn't true? And I've been a fan a while now for saying a very simple thing. In 2024, truth equals hate. Because when you tell the truth, people call you a hater. That's just what it is. And Taurasi's been in the league, I think, for what? 21 years now, and she's seen and done it all. So I think it's fair to take what she says and say it's pretty viable, because so far what she said has come to fruition. So let's fast forward to this season. Caitlin Clark helps set records for the highest numbers on a draft since '04, coincidentally, when Diana Taurasi got drafted. She's helping to set, excuse me, TV and live gate records for the Fever and for other games in the WNBA. She's got the biggest shoe and endorsement deal with Nike of any player in the league. I think it's like 6 years, $28 million. And as far as on the floor, it's definitely been a rough transition. But that's what we expect from a rookie in just about any sport. And that's just like Diana Taurasi said. And it's to be expected. Like, think about, let's go through and think about whether it's basketball or WNBA or NBA or the NFL or what have you, or even high school to college. There's very few sports and very few people that can go from college to the pros without that adjustment period. That just is what it is. Man down sports was good, my brother. Yeah, Diana Taurasi told it for real. That's a fact. And again, that's not hating. That's not taking, and I'm not saying you are, that's not taking any shots at Caitlin Clark. That's just saying she's been there. Diana Taurasi is arguably the greatest women's player of all time, or the greatest player in WNBA history. And she only averaged 17 as a rookie. Caitlin Clark is averaging 15.6. We'll get there. What we got? Some people have to be able to accept Clark if the ceiling ends up being JJ Redick instead of Steph Curry. They want WNBA. Right, right. No, you're absolutely right, Timothy. You're absolutely right. I think that she is going to get better, and she's going to be better than a JJ Redick. I don't know if she's going to be a Steph Curry, but she'll definitely be better than a JJ Redick. But we'll see. So, um, Caitlin Clark, she went from leading the country in scoring and assists at Iowa last season. Now, again, that was a system where she always had the ball. It was all on her. She's making all the decisions, taking the majority of the shots. But at the same time, everybody knew that she was facing the bulk of the defensive attention. She was still getting it in. But now, she's 17th in the WNBA in scoring. She's leading all rookies in that category, but her field goal percentage and her three-point field goal percentage are much lower than anyone would expect. I think she's like 33 or 34% from the field and 29% from three. But again, we have to chalk that up to her playing against the best women in the world. Like, there's no, there's no Bruce Hope State University on the schedule, right? This is the WNBA. This is where the best female players on earth are playing. And they're not just going to roll over and give it to her, right? She's now playing against the best coaching. She's playing against physical defenses. And all that, again, is part of the adjustment. And there's nothing wrong with that. And part of that, right? Part of that, thinking about it, is that there's, yeah, Timothy, she is leading the WNBA in turnovers. I was getting to that. Part of that, though, is that she's also facing the best coaching, physical defense, and all that is there, right? And the other thing is, she has almost no time, as all the rookies, between uh, the end of the college season, the WNBA draft, and camp to start their season, because of where the WNBA season sits, right? So it's not even like you get an entire offseason to really get on the nutrition and the strength program, or to get acclimated to the physicality of the pro game. You don't get all that, because what did she have? Maybe a month and a half between finishing school and starting in the WNBA. That's just not enough time. So you're really getting, what is it, baptized under fire, right? I think that's the expression. So you're getting that immediately. And she's also pretty much getting everyone's best shot, right, defensively. And she's trying to work her way through it. And she's leading the league in turnovers, like Timothy Taylor mentioned, at 5.4 per game, which is crazy. I think that's probably going to be the highest ever, whether NBA or WNBA. So now she gets those turnovers trimmed down. That's going to equal extra possessions, which theoretically equals more points and theoretically more wins. So that's a simple one right there, right? But again, that's just something that she's going to have to learn with time. Clark needs Angel Reese. She needs a player who loves to set screens and grab offensive rebounds. And we're going to talk about Angel Reese a little bit. But yeah, that would be interesting for them to play together. But I don't know if the league, for marketing purposes, wants them playing together. It could be interesting down the road if both of them continue to improve as players and get a little bit of rivalry going. And maybe then something happens. But as of right now, no, I don't think so. All right. So Now we know what Caitlin Clark was kind of going through college, and the comments by Diana Taurasi, and now we know what she's facing since she got into the league. The physicality. So obviously, physical pressure, the mental pressure of being considered the savior of the league, all that talk, and then over the weekend, the lid finally blew off the pot, so to speak. And so we see here Chenedy, I don't know how to pronounce that, Carter of the Chicago Sky. She's basically like a Pat Beverly or Draymond Green of the WNBA. She puts the physical hip check on Caitlin Clark during a baseline out of bounds play, and that ignited a ton of discussion in the sports media and beyond. And that's crazy. I don't even have enough time to get into all of that, but I'm going to try to get into some of it, right? So sure, it was a dirty play, and it was physical, right? Okay. The foul was assessed, then reassessed, or applied. So it's like, oh my gosh, really? But okay, cool. So all part of the game. But now we're seeing everything boil over as a result of all of this. And we're hearing the discussions on Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. And now they're broaching gender and sexuality and race. And it's crazy. And these are all things that were kind of lurking in the background. Thank you, Kennedy. Okay. Interesting. Thanks, man. Down. Appreciate you, Kennedy Carter. So anyway, yeah. So all this is stuff that was kind of lurking in the background, and so you see that, and then it's like, all right. But now that the lid is blown off, you really hearing all this stuff truly being discussed on a bigger level, right? But this is where things can go in the modern sports media, right? And you have, I don't know if y'all saw this, the editorial board of the Chicago Tribune writing an article, I swear to you, that likened the flagrant foul on Caitlin Clark to an assault if it happened outside of sports. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you can seriously look that up. If you're on your phone or a computer right now, just open up another tab and type in Chicago Tribune, Caitlin Clark. You'll see the article. And they actually compared that flagrant foul to an assault if it happened outside of sports. Like, that's a ridiculous statement to make. Basketball is a contact sport. It is, right? Do we liken dirty hits in football or fist fights in hockey to assault? We got to stop this, right? Women say they're equal, they're strong, they're independent, they don't need men. All that is fine, because for many women, it's true. But then why are we as men expected to protect them at every turn, whether physically or verbally? Think about this. We have to be careful in the way we address any topic that involves women. We have to dance around the point and treat them with kid gloves, and it's nonsense. Caitlin Clark has been asking, Caitlin Clark isn't asking for extra protection or special treatment. So why do so many people in the media feel like they need to give it to her? Don't believe me? Let's hear what she had to say about it.
It is what it is. I feel like I'm just at the point where you accept it and don't retaliate. Like, just let them hit you, be what it is. Don't let it get inside your head and know it's coming. I think at this point, like, I know I'm going to take a couple hard shots a game, and that's what it is. Just stay in the game and saying what's important.
So, shout to Man Down Sports. I was listening to his show earlier today, and he actually had some sound from Kenyon Martin saying, and Kenyon Martin was basically saying that, hey, at some point, even though her teammates should have stood up for her, that she's gonna have to stand up for herself physically and make it known that she's not gonna be having all that, or they're just gonna keep trying to test her. So it is what it is. Mainstream media putting pressure on Caitlin Clark that most players cannot live up to. Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. When you're that person and they need you to be that person, and you're delivering so much in terms of revenue growth and all that to a league, they're going to put that pressure on you. That's just what it is. Yeah, so I'm watching all this and I'm like, man, you got to be kidding me, right? So Caitlin could be saying the right thing here, right? But she knows that it's all just something that comes with the territory, or at least it seems that way. And she wants to represent the WNBA and women's basketball as best as she can. Now, another part of the gender piece in this situation is the coverage, right? So it's frustrating to me in paying attention to all of this that now there's female media members acting as if men who have covered sports for years suddenly don't have a right to make any commentary on this story because the WNBA wasn't a fixture in the headlines before. Are we for real? if we are honest, the WNBA, for the most part, was not a needle mover. So it wasn't going to get large scale coverage. That's just it. I mean, that's honest. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm some WNBA aficionado. I can tell you when I was in journalism school, I covered Division I women's basketball for the University of North Florida. I did that. I can tell you even before all that, before I joined the military, before I was in journalism school, any of that, I actually attended WNBA game at Madison Square Garden. I think me and my wife, we weren't even married then, but we got a picture with us and Cheryl Swoops. So like, I'm not a stranger to the WNBA. Again, I'm not an aficionado, and I will never say that I am, but I'm not a stranger to that sport anyway. They just try and protect their girl. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The WNBA has a ton of money invested in this young lady. Yeah, and you don't kill the golden goose, but at the same time, she has to be able to live up to all that, and you can only protect her but so much. Good comment, El Boogie. Yeah, so it's really annoying that you have these female media members acting like men suddenly don't have a right to say, I'm sorry, have a right to say anything regarding the WNBA just because they weren't covering it before. And that's disingenuous, because we know how the media works. If there's a story nobody cares about, nobody's going to talk about it. That's just it, right? So um now the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark, all that, it's a super hot topic. So the coverage has grown exponentially now, right? And that doesn't mean that men don't have a right to discuss it. If we're honest, right? Let's think about this now. This is what I like to do. I always like to reverse things. Imagine the uproar if male sports journalists were telling women that their opinions and their reporting on male dominated sports was somehow invalidated. We hear women complain about that all the time, right? We hear the stories about what it was back in the day. We hear stories about even what some still experience today, right? And it's a huge thing, but they can turn around and tell us that we can't report on something and give our opinions on it. Man, get out of here. Why is it okay when it's reversed? We'll leave that there. All right, but now you got the bigger piece, and this is this is a real problem. Um, what we got here, Timothy Clark. Clark was also playing with the fourth most points in NCAA women's history in Kelsey Mitchell. Right now, Mitchell is better than Clark. Great point. Great point. So there you go. Um, yeah. So now we take it away from the gender piece, and now what do we have? We have the race part, and that's the part that you never, it's America, right? So there's no way around that. It's been suggested, and in some ways, flat out stated, that Caitlin Clark is getting extra attention and that the situation is being handled differently. Why? Because she is white in a game that is predominantly black. Is there a racial component? Yes, there's a racial component, because it's the United States of America and there is almost always a racial component. So as per the 2020 census results, right? 2020 census says 61.6% of Americans identify as white alone. That makes up the vast majority of the American populace. 6 out of 10 people in America identify as white only. Okay. That makes up the vast majority. So even though Caitlin Clark is an incredible player, and again, two things can be true. So I'm not saying she can't hoop. She's a baller, right? But the fact is, even though she put in the work to get where she is, being a white person is more identifiable to most of America. That's just it. So that's part of what's going to play a role into the attention that she's getting, right? Especially in terms of marketing. If I can market to 6 out of 10 people versus 1.2, the 1.2 being 12% of the American populace is African American alone, right? So if I can do that, I mean, we got to be real here, right? So it's just the math. The numbers play out. So anyway, even though she's an incredible basketball player, she put in the work to get where she is. It only makes sense that the marketing is going to be there, and we can't deny that. So it doesn't mean that her race is the only reason that she's getting attention, but it would be extremely disingenuous for anyone to act as if it doesn't play a role. I mean, that's just what it is. Um, let's look at some examples how Caitlin Clark for hold on, what we got here, man down? Men have a right to discuss WNBA for sure, but we should not be the leader in the discussion when we have former players and experts of the league on the women's side. No, 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 no. See, I'm not buying that, man down. I hear what you're saying and it sounds good, but when uh when women want to discuss men's sports, right? And we have former players and experts in the league On the men's side, they're not trying to hear that. They just say we should have our right to cover the sport and discuss it the same way men do. So the same thing needs to happen for the WNBA. I'm not going for that. Nope, nope, nope. You can't want equality only sometimes when you want it. Nope, nope. We're not doing that. Not at all. Not here. All right. Nino, what's good, my man? It's not her fault she's getting the attention. No, it's not her fault at all, which is why I made sure to say I love the fact that you don't hear her complaining and begging for special treatment or any of that. And so I get it. Paige Beckers was supposed to be Caitlyn Clark, but she got injured and she has a black boyfriend. So the media, whoa, okay, I didn't know anything about that. I'm not going to speak to that because I don't know about it, but you know, it is what it is. All right. Yeah, so let's go and look at some some of the differences, right? So we saw the foul that Kennedy Carter used, and that was the one to basically put the match to the powder keg, right? So I'm gonna re-show it. And it's funny, the more I look at this, yeah, it wasn't necessary, but it really wasn't that egregious. Like they're talking like she came with an elbow off the top rope like Macho Man Savage or something. Now, am I advocating for that? No, I'm not. But it really wasn't as egregious in my estimation as they make it out to be. Now, let's look at this foul. This wasn't Caitlyn Clark, but this was a different game. And then we'll talk about the differences and how this was covered. So here we got Angel Reese literally getting pulled out of the air with the opponent's arm around her throat and slamming her to the ground. But that didn't receive too much attention, right? We didn't hear much about it. So let's be honest. How much attention did that foul get? Yes, it was during play versus Caitlyn Clark's being at a stoppage on that baseline out of bounds play. But you know, it was way more egregious than the foul that Caitlyn Clark got hit with. And so legendary sportscaster Bob Costas, he was on CNN, and he, an older white man now, he told it how it was. Listen to this clip.
About the championship game
right.
a
that
year
they were
ago,
both a part
LSU
of.
versus Iowa, and LSU prevailed. But to your earlier point, there was an incident recently. Alyssa Thomas, who happens to be African American, grabbed Angel Reese by the throat and threw her to the floor. Flagrant 2, ejected from the game. The reason why that doesn't spark as much conversation isn't just that Caitlyn Clark is a bigger star than Alyssa Thomas. It's because it's a black on black incident.
Wow.
And you don't have that dynamic that people can comment on, yes, but also exaggerate and make the entire story sometimes.
And also,
so Bob Costas, this is an old white guy. He told the truth on that, right? He told it what it was. It's right there. Al Wajid, what's good, my brother? Good to have you in here, man. Appreciate you hopping in. Do you think controversy helps to grow the league? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. I just don't like the disingenuousness of what's going on in the media in terms of the way this is being covered. But yeah, it definitely does help to grow the league. It's good. Okay, where are we here? All right. So I'm for the most part, I'm a kind of actually I got some more. So the crazy thing is seeing that, right? Seeing those two fouls, it's amazing to me that people are still trying to deny that there's a racial component here. So they're just lying if they are, plain and simple. Like it's not cool to call somebody a liar, but if you see the Caitlyn Clark foul and you see the ensuing firestorm, then you see the Alyssa Thomas and Angel Reese foul, and you see hardly anybody's talking about it, you can't tell me that race is not involved there. And I am far from the guy that's making everything a racial issue, but plain and simple, it is in this case. All right, so final part of this now before I open up the phone line. So remember earlier I talked about Angel Reese, right? So Angel Reese is also a rookie. She's a former national champion at LSU. She beat Caitlyn Clark. Her and her team beat Caitlyn Clark and her team for the title 2 years ago. And she's made something of a name for herself as well, right? Is she as skilled a player as Caitlyn Clark? No. Is she as exciting as a player of Caitlyn Clark? No. But she's a different type of player. She's a power forward. She works down low. She works. And I respect what she's doing in the league because I don't believe she's starting yet, but she's still 7th in the league in total rebounding and 1st in offensive rebounding. And that right there, that means you won it. You're a grinder. And that's a formula for winning basketball, right? You control the glass and your team gets extra possessions. And the great Pat Riley once said, no rebounds, no rings, right? So anyway, Angel Reese, she had some interesting comments recently as well. So let's hear what she had to say. Then we'll come back and react to that.
I think so many people are watching women's basketball right now. It all started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now. And understanding, like, yeah, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, like, just because of one single game. And just looking at that, like, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me, too, and I want y'all to realize that. Like, it's not just because of one person. A lot of us have done so much for this game, and Kennedy has been here before, obviously, but there are so many great players in this league that have deserved this for a really, really long time, and luckily, it's coming now.
All right, so she's right. She definitely plays a big role as well. She's part of the story, right? You always need an antagonist and a protagonist, right? And she's right now the antagonist. But to say it's about one single game, that national title game in 2023, somewhat disingenuous because Caitlyn Clark was still selling out arenas all over college last season. She's still selling out arenas this year in the WNBA. Now, by acknowledging that, it may feel disrespectful to the women who've been grinding it out in relative anonymity and obscurity all these years, but that's not the case. I'm not trying to say that. I understand that most of these players are excellent, right? And I appreciate the work they put in and how good they are. I have friends who are adamant that, women's sports and women's basketball is crap. And I'm like, nah, listen, I've covered the game at the D1 level. And trust me, you watch it, women's hoops can be really good. It's just, you have to understand that you're going to get a different game than the men's game. And now if you really love basketball, you're looking at execution and you're looking at fundamentals and all that, the women's game is there, right? And it's funny, there's some of the same friends who complain about the lack of the physicality in the NBA say that WNBA is garbage. But I digress. The point is, I have total respect for those ladies and for that league, right? And at the end of the day, though, sometimes a league needs someone or something to kind of flip that light switch for them, right? Just like Magic and Bird in the NBA. Here's my example, right? So Magic and Bird came along in the NBA and they flipped that switch and everything got going. But does that mean that Wilt and the great Mr. Russell and Kareem and Jerry Rest and Dr. J and all those guys weren't great, or that they weren't working hard and that they didn't deserve more attention than they were getting? It absolutely doesn't mean that, but sometimes you just need that catalyst, right? And so far, for these women in the WNBA or members of the media that they're upset that it took this long to get the level of attention that they want to be paid to the sport. I get it, but don't be upset. The light is on now. So now is your time to shine. If you're a WNBA media member, if you're a WNBA player, if you're a women's college basketball player, now is your time to step up, show what you can do, and help grow this game and make sure people know it's not just about Caitlyn Clark, like Angel Reese said. And she doesn't need special treatment and she doesn't want it, right? So just keep hooping and let's get ready for Juju Watkins and Hannah Hidalgo because they're coming and they are going to get busy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, no, facts. Facts, L Boogie. It is racially motivated, bro. I'm not saying it's completely racially motivated, but to act as if that's not a major component, it's just disingenuous, man. It really is. What do we got here? I think people are missing the most important part of Clark's game, which is her style of play. The long threes bringing excitement that the women's game has been missing. So yes and no, right? Because if you look at, and again, I'm not an authority on the WNBA, but look at somebody like Sabrina Ionescu. She is an absolute sniper. And I remember when she was in college at Oregon, I think she set the record for, I don't know if it was male and female, but definitely for female for triple doubles in a college career. I think she had like 12 or something like that. And so she was at Oregon, she was getting busy, and she's such a shooter in the league. She set the record, male or female, for most points in a three-point shootout over All-Star Weekend. That if you remember last year, at the three-point shootout, she had a special shootout against Steph Curry. And, she was letting that thing go. She got a gun, man. So I think Caitlyn Clark has been paid attention to. She's been marketed, but she's not the only one who could play like that. If you check out my man Down Sports, you check out his channel and his discussion on this topic. He has some really good stuff showing Jewel Lloyd and how she plays. She is the star for the Seattle franchise. Cannot remember the name of the franchise, but the Seattle franchise. And she gets busy. She can pull that three. She has range. She can put it on the floor. She can defend. So she's an outstanding player. So yeah, if you pay attention to the WNBA a little bit, there's some serious ballers there. Let's see what we got. Juju Watkins not going to get 10% of the media coverage. Caitlyn Clark got at Iowa, and USC is a way bigger school. Wow. Nah, I got to disagree, man. I got to disagree because I think that and I could be wrong, but if Juju Watkins had made the Final Four, especially as a freshman, the way she was putting up numbers, and when you watch her play, and I don't know how to say this and not make it sound bad, but like when you watch a male and a female play basketball, like the way they move is different, right? But there are a few female players that there's really not a lot of difference. Like Juju Watkins is one of those. When she balls, she doesn't necessarily move like a female. She got it, man. And I think when it's her time, she is going to be an absolute problem. And then you got Hannah Hidalgo. I think she was like 5th in the country in scoring as a freshman at Notre Dame. She's another problem. So these young ladies, it's like a page has turned, and their level of play it's just different now. So again, Caitlyn Clark, keep continuing to get better, toughen up. I think next year we're going to see a real jump for her because I feel like she's going to do a lot in the offseason in terms of getting stronger, that weight and nutrition program, and again, working her skill set and all that, because now she knows what it is for real. So, she's had a couple of good games. I think she had a 20-point game. She had a 30-point game. She also had a 3-point game. So she's facing all the ups and downs that rookies go through in any sport. It is what it is. But what I'm going to do right now, Juju will get the coverage, but it won't come from the same demographic as Caitlyn. Well, we'll see how much coverage she gets. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and open up these phone lines, and I would love to hear anybody's thoughts on this Caitlyn Clark topic. And I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I missed. The topic is so broad, Caitlyn Clark, the WNBA, women's basketball on a whole, but I tried to, I didn't want to take up an entire show just talking about that. I probably could have. There's so much stuff. But yeah, go ahead. Give us a call, 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. I'd love to hear from you, hear your thoughts on this Caitlyn Clark topic. Let's get it. Calling the Format Podcast. What we got?
All right, man. I had to call in. There's a lot in there. I just want to do a couple of pieces of it. The first piece.
What's good, brother? How are you, man?
Mobile Tech, by the way.
Yeah, no doubt.
So the first thing about Caitlyn Clark and her struggles, that Tarazi had. That's the best statement you could make. That's what I would have told a young person coming into the league.
Yeah.
She that was like big sis, right? So that was real. That was facts. She said the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been disingenuous for her to say, "Oh yeah, things are going to be fantastic. She's going to come in here and light it up." No way.
Right.
You got coaches that can do a walkthrough the day of a game and probably, put together a defensive scheme that'll contain her.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll cut her off here. We'll hedge here. We'll be ready for this screen up top. We'll just trap when she gets to the spot.
Oh, yeah.
But they can do that in 30 minutes, in a walkthrough. So it's no surprise. And then you've got WNBA talent, not college talent.
That's right.
Right? This was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Caitlyn Clark's going to be fine. She's a good player. She's got skills that translate. It's not just going to be a lost cause. It's just like there's those lulls. I mean, let's not forget what happened to Anthony Edwards,
right?
Who is an incredible talent. And he was humbled for like 4 consecutive games in the most important games of the whole season. So I'm just saying those types of things happen to young players.
No doubt. And that's fine, man. They're going to have the ups and downs. What's frustrating me is all this ancillary stuff that's coming along with it. But, as a member of the media, you got to expect that. And at the end of the day, they're talking about it because it's a major point. People are tuning into it. Like, you have the big thing on First Take on Monday morning with Stephen A. and Monica McNutt, and they came right back to it on Tuesday because they realized, yo, wait a minute, this got a ton of engagement. Obviously, they cut it up. They put it on YouTube. People were watching. People were talking about it, comments, all of that. Stephen A. talked about it on his personal podcast on YouTube. They're like, man, we got to come right back to this thing. Monica McNutt was on Nightcap with Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco, I think Monday night, discussing it. So this is a huge thing. You know what I'm saying? Nino, hold on, man. So yeah, this is a huge thing, Sneed. So, you know.
Yeah, here's the problem though. This is all disingenuous. They really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you why. The reason they don't really care is because the NBA finals haven't started. There's no NFL and nobody cares about baseball.
Great point.
Nobody cares. If this was game one of the finals, Kyrie dropped 50, Luka dropped 50, Tatum dropped 45 or 50. I'm telling you, nobody would give a shit.
That's a great point. They would. They definitely would make less of a big deal about it.
This is a microcosm of our society. It's all about buzz. It's all about gaslighting. It's all about disingenuous narratives, trying to spin something out of nothing. Just think about it, right? A microcosm of our society. Everything going back to racism. Man, sports is the great equalizer. How many blacktops I've been where it just did not matter. You either got the bucket or you didn't get the bucket. It just does not matter. But they make it about this because they have nothing. You want to break down X's and O's in a Fever game? Who's done that?
No, I get that. And I have watched the Fever play, and I see what they are doing to Caitlyn Clark defensively to make it much tougher on her. And again, she'll work through that.
But everything's about the story, bro. It's not about the game. Like the hip check. It's a hip check. How many times I've been hip checked? How many times I've hip checked?
So
it's just part of the game. These fouls happen.
So I get you, but I can see both sides of it, right? Like I like to say two things can be true. So me being obviously a trained journalist, I see that side of it. But as a fan and as a sports fan, I see what you're telling me as well. But again, like I went over in my soliloquy there discussing this topic, I think it's disingenuous to say that race is not a component here. There's no way that race is not a component. And the easiest way to see that is the reaction between the two fouls that took place. And even Bob Costas, he came out and said it. And he has nothing to gain being an older white man by saying that. There's nothing for him to gain, but he came out and he told it, So there's no way race is not a part of this equation. Now, is it as big a part of the equation as some people want to make it? I don't think so, but it's absolutely a part of it.
Yeah, it's just a microcosm of society. It's all symptomatic. I see the same things. If you're watching CNN, if you're watching Fox, if you're watching just whatever TV shows, it's all the same thing. Now it's spilling into sports.
Yeah. And I mean, I could get into that.
Anywhere. You can't turn away from any of it. You just and here's the thing, bro. It doesn't matter, girls, guys. It does not matter. You know what people want to see? They want to see competitive games.
They do.
My daughter is 8 years old. And if the games are competitive, I watch every single second.
I got you, Nino. Hang on, Nino. I got you, bro. Yeah, go ahead, Sneak.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say. I don't want to take up too much time, man. But I was very excited about maybe liking the WNBA more because I haven't paid attention to it. Although I know who the most important players have been in the past. Because if you remember in the 90s,
I do.
Rebecca Lobo and Cheryl Swoops and those gals,
Cynthia Cooper, Tina Thompson. Oh yeah,
on the map, they won gold, stuff like that. I mean, that was meaningful, and we really haven't seen all that much since then. Like Taurasi is a great player. I mean, very skilled. Obviously, she's at the tail end of her career.
Yeah,
she gets to speak from the old head side of things. But I mean, they're getting some buzz. It might not be in an organic way.
Yeah,
really not. But they'll take it.
Yeah,
they're desperate.
No doubt.
So they'll take it, and they're going to keep feeding this until we start getting some NBA Finals games.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say.
Teresa Weatherspoon, coach of the Chicago Sky, when she was playing for the Liberty, she gave me 2 tickets to the game. That was the same game that I ended up going to with my wife, and we met Cheryl Swoops. So yeah, I've been around the WNBA for a little bit. But yeah, thanks a lot for calling in, brother. I appreciate you, Sneed. Appreciate you as always, man.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, brother. Nino, go ahead, man. If you can, go ahead. Call me back. I'd love to hear what you got to say. What's up, Nino?
What's up, man?
Doing all right, brother. Doing all right. What you got?
I wonder what you think about my perspective, and it's a little different.
Okay.
Because I was listening to you say that 60% of the population around here is white people, right?
In America, yeah. Based on the 2020 census, yeah.
Based on the census. Have you been to? Now I'm gonna ask you a legit question.
Okay.
Have you been to an NBA game or baseball game, football game in the last 5 years? I've been to a few.
Yeah, I went to Notre Dame, Stanford 2 years ago, and I went to, well, I wasn't in the stands, but I was at a bunch of Jags games, not last season, but the season prior. I was covering the team, so I've been in some games. Yeah, what you got?
So where I'm going with this is, when you was in the crowd, most of the crowd was what population would you say?
I would white.
Hello?
Yeah, I would say most of the crowd was white.
Definitely white. So where I'm going with this is, as the league of the WNBA try to grow, we got to be careful. What I think Stephen A. was talking, I think men talk business. Where I don't think no player should let her do anything, let her score, none of that.
No.
But where they say, where everybody's saying about the white and the black, it's going to be there. And I think it's going to bring money to the whole league.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
My honest opinion.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think we should just support and watch basketball. But I think the race factor is going to kind of how I missed the Bird and Magic scenario. But I think it's going to play something like that. Even though Clark might not be talented like Bird.
No, I get it.
These girls out there are talented.
No, I'm with you.
The race factor is going to grow the game.
I listen. I got no problem with that as long as it doesn't spill over and get real bad in terms of the racial issues. Just that's gonna be part of everything in America. But just get out there and hoop and continue to grow the game and continue to make the game better and give us a good product. That's all we really care about. What else you got, brother?
Well, that's all I was thinking about was I think it's gonna be a serious conversation to be. Well, we know Clark is getting the attention. Well, I won't say she's getting the attention because she's white, but like you said, most of the big attention is because she can ball, and white people done got a hold to it and they're gonna support. Which I can't blame them. We support we support Tiger.
Right.
In golf.
It's a great analogy.
Venus,
yes.
In tennis. White people want to see a white superstar too. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
That's right. And
I think by them controlling the media and everything else, and they're gonna spend money with that. And so I think it all gonna equal out, and it's gonna bring more support. Like when Juju get in there, well, white people gonna say, "Well, this is a good game." So it ain't ain't about Caitlyn Clark being a superstar no more.
Right.
We just supporting the WNBA, and that's from the dollars.
That's right.
So we can't run the money away.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, thanks for calling, Nino, man. I appreciate you. Stick around. We got some more topics to talk about.
Oh yeah.
All right, brother. Have a good one. Caller from California. I missed you there while I was talking to Nino. If you're available, go ahead and call back and let me hear your thoughts. Area code 442. Hello. Who's this?
What's going on, this Mel?
Oh, what's up, Mel?
What's going on, man? Yeah, I was calling in. Hold on, let me make sure I hit my mute button. All right, so I was calling in. I got 2 points I wanted to make.
Yeah.
Right. First with the Caitlyn Clark stuff. The elephant in the room that nobody is addressing is that she's not really hooping. Her game is not translate and is not looking like what it looked like when she was in college.
Okay.
And that's where the frustration is coming from with her fan base, because her fan base is they pulled all their chips in looking for this girl to come in and actually take over the league. Remember, there was people saying that she could absolutely play with the men in the NBA. They said she could absolutely
That was
play
absurd though. Like, come on, man.
Ice Cube, Big 3, and they said that she's hands down better than everybody that's already in the NBA. Right, so these are the type of things that we're saying, and now for them to get that reality check, which comes back to what Darnell Rice was saying when she was like, reality is coming.
Right.
Here's the reality check. We're showing you that y'all was wrong in the media. How y'all disrespected us. Y'all disrespected every female in the sport by saying that this girl could come out of college and be better than all of us from day one. Right, so yeah, the reality check is here. She's feeling it, and her fan base is seeing it and witnessing it, and they want answers on why they can't see Caitlyn Clark average 30 points a game and hit threes and take over the league. They want to know why.
So
the only way that they can explain this to themselves is by saying they hate her and they're stopping her from balling, and the WNBA needs to step in.
Well, my thing is this though, like, the same people that are asking these questions and making these assertions, WNBA needs to step in. Why is she not doing this? Why is she not doing that? Are they watching though? That's the question.
No, Caitlyn Clark. No, the media members that have been speaking about it.
Oh, the media. Okay, good. My bad. I thought you were saying the fans. And okay.
Well, I mean, it's probably some fans. I mean, obviously they're watching because they're showing up to the games, and she's getting a lot of views at her games. So it's obviously some of her fans watching. I'm just talking about the ones that's in the media that has been disrespecting the ladies that's already in the NBA with some of their inflammatory comments that they've been making.
Okay, I got you.
Her showing up to the league, so they're not watching it, because when I sit here and watch them, I don't think Stephen A, LaShawn McCoy, anybody, I don't think they watch the game. They watch highlights, they look at stats, they do this for a job, right? The second point I wanted to make is, throughout this whole conversation, all the different shows, I'm watching all of them. I'm just like you, trying to make content and all that stuff. So I'm watching all of them, trying to see what's interesting. And one common trend I'm seeing is that, one, they're all on the side of these girls are jealous of Caitlyn, and they're pushing that narrative, right? However, I don't believe they really believe that. They know how to make content.
Right.
They're playing the numbers game as well. How do I know this? Because when they had their big blow up on First Take, when they invited
Monica McNutt
and McNutt back for the next day, if you watch that whole segment, it got to a point where it was almost done, and Stephen A. Smith gave that grin and was like, "Look, you just got to play the game." Shannon Sharp said, "You got to play the game." He was like, "We're playing to win."
Yeah.
Right. Because he was like, if you think we go have attention over here with our host, we're not. We're playing to win. We're playing the game. He said that. Acho on Speak said some of the same things.
Yeah, he said he's trying to make a good segment. He's trying to make great TV. I heard him say that the other day.
Exactly. And I've heard that 3 different times.
Okay.
They're playing a numbers game. They know the rate. They know this race card thing is really, really good TV. Just like Fox News and everybody else know it's really good because it's a whole demographic of people that want to hear that and want to use that excuse. So hey, I'll feed it to you. Give it a ring. It's the same thing. I'll feed it to you. That's what they're doing. They're playing a numbers game. They know good and well this ain't about no freaking race, and don't nobody hate them. They're just speaking into an echo chamber and trying to, see if they can garner as much views as possible, man. That's all it is.
Yeah, like I said, I think I said it to Sneed and to Nico. It's not all race, but race is a component. You can't get away from that in America. You just can't. It's a piece.
But they're poking at a hornet's nest, knowing that it's easily to stir the fans and the people up with this race thing. They know it's gonna work every time. Every time they push that button, it's gonna work, right?
Yeah.
And the last thing I say, and then I'll take it off the air, bro. I just wanted to not reiterate, but kind of explain what I was saying about us lead the conversation as men for the WNBA. The reason why I don't think that we should be the leaders on that, because we are on the leaders of the men's sports, and I'm just talking about the talking heads on TV in general, right? Because we know for a fact they're not watching the game, right? Then we know for a fact that when they start talking about WNBA, they're going to use an NBA perspective. And it's two different leagues, two different games.
That's true.
And the women of the league do not want their game to turn into the NBA. They do not want them to take away fouls and physicality and all that stuff. So we need to let them speak for themselves. People like Ogumake, who played in the league not too long ago, let's hear what they got to say. Invite them on, or let them have their own show. And they can invite us on. We're contribute to the conversation, but we don't need to be the leaders on this. That's like me going to a bachelorette party and saying I need to dictate how that's going to go. we gotta let them have their own space sometimes. We don't need to be leaders on all of it.
So
let them lead that conversation.
So to some extent, I get that, but then you look at a guy, and this is one that comes to the top of mind for me, is Ryan Ruocco, and he's been calling WNBA games for years now. Years, I'm thinking probably close to a decade, maybe more. And so I don't see why. Oh, well, because he's a male, he can't. Nah. He should be able to get right in there and be one of the leaders in that discussion the same way. I don't have any issue with it.
It's the same. He's the equivalent to what Doris Burke is in the NBA. Yeah, when you've been part of it so long, there's always an exception to the rule. All I'm saying is
that's true.
I don't like to watch a panel and see an expert on the league, someone who's been covering it for years, and she's a female, and another one who's an expert on the league because she's been playing in the league for years, sit on the panel and have a former football player who don't even know nothing about the NBA, who already admitted that he don't watch the WNBA, and then a daggone receding hairline Uncle Tom.
Oh, here we go.
Don't watch the WNBA either and don't really know nothing about the NBA. Sit and talk down on females and say, no, the league needs to do X, Y, and Z just like the NBA. That's like, how can we have that conversation?
So I get that, and I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you the way you framed it there. I don't. The only thing I'm trying to say is like when you have females in the sports media who are trying to discount the male voices, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily males trying to lead, but discount the male voices because I guess they shouldn't have a right to speak on it. Nah, I'm not trying to hear that.
Nah,
not at all.
I don't think I've seen nobody discount the male voices.
I just read something.
I will say this.
My bad.
I will say this. If you don't watch the sport, you need to use your two ears more than you use your mouth. And I'm talking to Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp and LaShawn McCoy. I mean, you can't admit to not watching it.
And then you arguing.
Yeah. And then you show up and then just tell someone who's been part. Just like the I don't know the man name you said they've been calling the sport for a while. It's the same thing. If he's
Ryan Ruocco.
He's part of it. If he was invited on the show, that would make more sense. Okay,
right.
Yeah, that'd make more sense. Invite him on the show and let him have a conversation. He'll lead the conversation. I'm okay with that. I'm not saying it's all exclusive or all exclusive and say men is not invited to the table or the party. All I'm saying is let them lead their part. Invite us on, and then for the exceptions like the guy that you mentioned, yeah, he's there. But no, we don't need nobody that ain't never watched the game all of a sudden trying to build authority on it and tell a female that, no, y'all doing it wrong and y'all jealous and all, that was just too much to watch though. But I'll take that off the air, man. I appreciate it, man. I want to hold your lines up.
All right, no doubt, man. I appreciate you calling, Mel.
All
right, brother. All right, team. That's some good feedback. I appreciate the calls. Let's go. Wow, an hour on the first topic. That was crazy. I promise you the rest of the topics will not be that long. But thank you for the feedback. Thank you for following along with me. But let's go ahead and let's take it to the second topic that we have here on the rundown. And y'all know me already, man. I can't do a show and not get some NFL, man. It must happen. It must happen because things keep happening in the NFL. NFL is king. I keep saying it. And El Boogie, I see your messages, man. And I definitely I picked up the Xbox Series X, and I found out you could play cross-platform. So you and I are definitely going to get it in on that college football when it comes out, brother. So I can't wait for that. All right. So on the NFL side, Justin Jefferson is arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL, and he is now the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. And man, I tell you what, it's amazing how in all these sports with these TV deals, how the salaries just keep on rising. That's crazy, man. Um, so he just signed, I think yesterday, he signed a 4-year, $140 million contract. Now, that said, we know in the NFL that total number that you often hear is not generally the amount of money that the players are going to get paid. So the key, and I think I've said this before, but the key when you're looking at NFL contracts is always you have to pay attention to fully guaranteed dollars, right? That's the amount of money guaranteed at signing that an owner has to put into escrow when you sign your deal to make sure that the money is there. And so the real fully guaranteed money that you know you're going to get every single cent of is was it 4 years at 88,743,000, and he has total guarantees of $110 million. So still that's some pretty good dough that he's gonna come down with, right? So at the end of the day, regardless, he is going to be he is now the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of football, and he deserves it, man. He's getting a signing bonus of $36 million, 938,000. So let's go ahead and just take a look at some of the stuff that this guy does, man. Justin Jefferson is special. He's elite on the outside. He's elite if you put him in the slot. He can high point the ball as we just saw there. He's a guy that can run everything on the route tree. Look, there's the seam right there, right down the middle. He's able to run after the catch. And what I think is a really good situation here for him being Justin Jefferson, is that he is going to be an elite weapon for a young quarterback, whether it's JJ McCarthy, when he gets in there and he starts getting significant reps. If he's any good, he's got an elite weapon to throw to on one side, and then he's got former Biletnikoff Award winner, former Pitt Panther, and former USC Trojan. Shout out my main man El Boogie, uh, um, Jordan Addison. And Jordan Addison, he showed last year while Justin Jefferson was injured that he's another guy that's going to be a problem in this league. So this is a really good situation for JJ McCarthy and for the Minnesota Vikings. And I think part of the reason they were able to do this is because they don't have any big money tied up in quarterback, right? And again, the receiver on the other side, Jordan Addison, he's young. I think he's going to be in his second year this year. And so he's still on a rookie deal. So that's good, right? So now you look at Justin Jefferson, and since he's been in the league, he's been in the league 4 years now. He just got his new deal. He's one of very few players in the league to have 4 straight 90+ grades on the season from Pro Football Focus. That almost never happens. That tells you he's pretty much at the top of his position every year. That's crazy. So it's a really good move for Minnesota, being that they don't have a lot of money tied up in the quarterback. And this is what we see a lot of teams attempting to do before you get that guy. If you get a young guy at quarterback that you think might be able to do something, you try to put every possible resource around him and help him have success before you got to pay him. And hopefully you'll be in a situation maybe like the Niners with a Brock Purdy or something like that, where you can put a really good team around a young guy, he can have success, and maybe you can just hit on it and win a chip. Now, the Niners haven't done that yet, but clearly you can see that that's what Minnesota's plan is. So we'll see. But here's the thing that's crazy about football: when these guys, the NFL, when these guys sign these contracts, what does that mean elsewhere in the league, right? What happens is when you have guys sign contracts in the NFL, what it does is it raises the bar generally for the next high-end player that's up to sign, right? Now, a lot of times it's just like whoever's up next, if they're a really good player, they get more. But unfortunately, I don't really like that. It should be, whoever's up next and is also deserving based on what they've done and what they've produced. But a lot of times at those the higher end, like tier 1 and tier 2 players, it's just who's up next is going to get that next deal. So now what happens is this becomes interesting because Justin Jefferson just signed. So CeeDee Lamb of the Cowboys is up next. And if the Bengals are smart, they won't wait till next season to sign Jamar Chase. They'll sign him early, because if they wait till next season, that money is just going to go up more and more, right? As the salary cap rises and the TV money keeps coming in, where these contracts are going keeps changing. And right now, wide receiver is that big name position for non-quarterback in terms of the big money. So if you're the Cincinnati Bengals and you're smart, you'll lock up Jamar Chase now, right? So CeeDee Lamb, he's waiting on his deal, and now he sees where the line is based on what Justin Jefferson just got, right? And statistically, CeeDee Lamb is very similar to Justin Jefferson, and it's crazy because he's waiting to get paid. So last year, CeeDee Lamb had 135 catches, 1,749 yards, and 12 touchdowns, right? So last year, Justin Jefferson only played 12 games and he got injured. But 2 years ago, that was his best season, 128 catches, 1,809 yards, 8 touchdowns. So the numbers are extremely comparable. So CeeDee Lamb can say, this is what Justin Jefferson got. At my best, I'm right there with him. So you either pay me more, pay me even, or, I guess if he wants to, theoretically, he could take a little less, but he's probably going to say, pay me more or pay me even with Justin Jefferson. And so that's a lot of dough, man. So that's another decision that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys have to make. Also, Dallas has to pay who else? Micah Parsons. And that's another issue for them because he is also going to break the bank. When his turn comes, he will be the highest paid non-quarterback in history. That's a fact. You can bet on that one. He's young. He's also going to get that dough. He's been All-Pro every season in the league, 3 years in the league so far. He's been first-team All-Pro twice, and he's been second-team All-Pro once. And so he's got all the credentials to say, nah, pay me. I want more than Bosa got. I want more than Jefferson got. Pay me, right? And so now you're going to be in this situation if you're Jerry Jones. So not to let that hijack the segment, but those are just reasons why it's coming. Jerry Jones cannot pay Dak Prescott the going rate for a tier 1 or 2 quarterback. He just can't, because if he does that, he can't pay the other 2 guys. Now, one of my boys, we were actually discussing all this, and what he was telling me, he says if he's Jerry Jones, what he does is he trades Michael Parsons because he knows he can get a monster haul for him. That way you can still pay Dak, you can still pay CeeDee Lamb, you can get a bunch of picks or players or both, and you can try to round out your roster. I don't know if I do it. I keep the young guys and get rid of the old QB, and I try to get Shadur Sanders in the draft, trade up for him. But that's me. But yeah, man, these NFL contract negotiations and signings, they're always so interesting to me because not only when Bruce Hope signs with the Baltimore Ravens, I'm just using that as an example, that would be a dream. But when Bruce Hope signs with the Baltimore Ravens and I reset the market, that directly affects other teams because it now changes those teams' salary caps, and they have to figure out what they're going to do, who they can sign, who they can't sign, and that affects what happens to them on the field come Sunday. And it directly affects the opposing team's roster construction. So that's so interesting to me when you talk about the NFL and you talk about what you see and how one guy's contract affects somebody else's. So yeah, that's interesting. So that was a quick thing that I wanted to touch on in terms of the NFL. I'm gonna open up the phone lines. If anybody wants to give me a call on this topic, whether it's on the Cowboys and what they should do or Justin Jefferson and his new deal, go ahead and do that. 904-219, is that 8264? 904-219-8264. Give me a call. If not, we'll go ahead and we will talk about the Boston Celtics heading to the NBA Finals once again. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll move right on, keep it rolling here, and we will now go to the Boston Celtics. And here we go. Is it Jason Tatum's time? That's the question we're going to ask tonight. Obviously, we're 1 day away from the beginning of the NBA Finals, and the Celtics they've been the favorite in the league all season long. One of the best offenses in NFL history in terms of efficiency and production. Now, again, you know what I always say, rules and the way the game is officiated, the way the game is played today, analytics, all that stuff plays a major part in that. So I take it with a grain of salt. But they won 64 games this season. They look really good. They're 12-2 in the playoffs so far. Of course, they dealt with in the East a lot of teams had injuries to key players, but I always say that part of winning a championship is luck in terms of maybe somebody that would have given you trouble gets upset by someone who doesn't give you trouble. Maybe you run into the injury situation. Golden State's done that a few times and benefited from it. So all these things happen, and now the Celtics are on the precipice of championship banner number 18. They're going to play in the finals for the 23rd time all time, which is freaking crazy. And if they win this, that'll be their 18th championship, and they will break the deadlock with the Los Angeles Lakers, which I truly hope they do. But yeah, they've been the favorites all season long. And Jason Tatum, he made all NBA first team, and he's a heck of a player, right? He averaged 27, 8 rebounds, 5 assists on 47% field goals and 38% from three this season, which are really good numbers. And Jason Tatum now also is rapidly climbing up that Celtics great list, which is a very long list, right? And I've said this before, it's so wild to me how the Celtics keep managing to hit on that small forward position, whether you got Hondo Havlicek or you got Larry Bird, and for a little while they had Pistol Pete at the end of his career, but he dealt with injuries. But yeah, you had Larry Bird, and then it was supposed to be Len Bias, and then the unfortunate overdose on cocaine on draft night. But he was going to be the next elite small forward. And then you had Reggie Lewis, and he passed away, but he was really good at the small forward position. And then comes Paul Pierce, another Hall of Famer at the small forward position. And now you have Jason Tatum, who looks like the next great guy, right? And of course, you got his tag team partner, in Jaylen Brown. And, you watch this team play and you watch those two play, and they're a great 1-2 offensively and defensively. Although I've said this before, they don't quite work in sync. They kind of work in like your turn, my turn. It's really weird. But they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals 6 times. They've been to the finals once, and they haven't brought home a trophy. And when you play for the Celtics, it's one of those places where the trophy is the only thing that matters, the championship, right? If you play for Alabama in college football, or USC in college football, or Notre Dame in college football, or you play for the Steelers or the 49ers or the Cowboys in and now the Chiefs or in the NFL, the only thing that matters is the championship at the end, right? All the other stuff, like, it's cool, but it's just a step towards winning the ultimate goal, and that's the world championship. And so the Celtics are at that point now where they don't, like, conference banners don't mean anything, division banners don't mean anything. It's all about the Larry O'Brien and bringing home the trophy at the end. And so now Jason Tatum he's the guy for this team, and he's got all the skills, but you worry, like, is there something missing? I'm really not sure. But I mean, you watch this guy play, man, he's special. He's got the athleticism. I don't think he's got the elite, super explosive athleticism, but he can handle the ball. He can pass the ball. He can shoot the ball. But it's funny. His game is so smooth. He rarely looks like he can go into attack mode. He can get hot, like really hot, and take over, but he doesn't look like he can attack like Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce could deliberately attack you. He could get into that mode and say, all right, I'm about to dominate, and there's nothing you can do about it. And he's talking to you and all that. But Jason Tatum, he just seems like a different type of dude. He's got all the skills. He's smooth. It's like it comes easy for him. And he can defend, right? He's not going to be Meta World Peace or Meta Sanford Artest, I should say. I think that's his name. He's not going to be that on the defensive end, but he certainly can defend for this era. He really doesn't have a weakness. I just wish that he would get that dog mentality. I haven't seen that yet. Maybe this final series will be the time that it comes out. Who knows? But if he can win playing the way that he's been playing, and he doesn't have to become that dog, then so be it, right? Jaylen Brown, his running mate, that guy is the dog, right? So he's a similar player to Tatum, but he's a different guy, right? He's more aggressive. When he came out of Cal, his whole thing was made on being a defender, and then he has developed his offensive game over the years, becoming a better mid-range shooter, better ball handler, better three-point shooter, not an elite ball handler. he has problems going left, and you'll hear Bob Ryan talk about that later in this segment. But he also can be a streaky shooter. He can give you 40, but he's not quite as skilled as Tatum. But I've said it time and time again, man. I watch these dudes, and if you could give Jason Tatum with all his skills, if you could give him that aggressive mindset from Jaylen Brown, I think it'll be over. Whoa, what you guys need? Oh, more talented than Paul Pierce? Ooh, I don't know. this is a lifelong Celtics fan talking to you, man. I don't know, man. Paul Pierce was nasty, and he was on the low, more athletic than people give him a lot of credit for. If we remember, Paul Pierce won the national high school dunk contest as a senior. He's more athletic than people give him credit for, and his skill set was crazy too. I think he was a better player in the post than Jason Tatum is. Jason Tatum is probably the smoother shooter, but if you looked at the numbers for their career, it's probably about even from three. Paul Pierce, I think I'd probably take him in the mid-range over Tatum. It's actually a very good comparison. I think I got Paul Pierce by a little bit, but again, that might be personal preference, and that might be just that he's more aggressive, and I prefer that. That's really good. That might be a topic that we need to do another day, comparing those two and which way would you go. But yeah, Jaylen Brown, he's that dude, man. So you look at the Celtics, especially Tatum and Brown, and you say maybe it's now or never, because if this doesn't work out, you're going to have two guys making over $300 million. And it's like, okay, is somebody going to need to go here? Or are we going to need to try and revamp this thing so we can actually win? And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they don't just want to win a title. They need to win a championship. Remember earlier in this segment, I talked about the pressure of being a Celtics great and nothing else mattering but winning championships. They need to win a title. And the scary thing is these guys are still young. They're both still I think Tatum is 25 or 26, I think. So they're still relatively young. And by that age, Michael Jordan hadn't won yet, but he spent more time in college. Both of those guys spent 1 year in college, but Michael Jordan hadn't won yet. Dream hadn't won yet. Shaq hadn't won yet. So it's a little different because all those guys spent more time in college. But the point is they're still young and they can still do it. But you got to win, man. You got to win. When you wear that green and white, the pressure of being a Celtic and being a Celtic great, stats and awards don't do it for you for being a great in that uniform. It's like being a Laker, as much as I hate to compare it to being a Laker. But the standard is championships. If you want to get into that room, you got to have all the numbers you want, but you got to get chips, right? And so if you can become a champion as the guy when you wear green, that pretty much also cements a Hall of Fame berth for you, right? Now, don't get me wrong, it's not that hard to make the Hall of Fame in basketball, but that pretty much locks you into a Hall of Fame berth, because now you're one of the best players on arguably the best franchise of all time, right? So if you lead them to a title, it puts you in a different place in terms of that all-time list. So now, earlier in the week, I was listening to The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker on Fox Sports Radio, and that night, Ephraim Salaam was filling in for Rob Parker on the show with Chris Broussard. So let's hear their thoughts. They were actually discussing Jason Tatum and what it would mean for his legacy and winning a championship and what he needs, etc.
If you look at his career, because remember, as a rookie and as a second year, they had been, deep runs in the playoffs, and everybody was waiting for him to say, ooh, in 2 years, he's going to take over the league. Well, we're still waiting.
Right.
These are the conversations we were having his rookie season. In 2 years, he's going to take over the league. We're still waiting for him to take over the league.
It's interesting because I agree with a lot of what you said. I think, if they don't win this championship, there will be real questions about, can he be the best player on the best team or the best player on a championship team? Like, there really will be the questions, because this is the year. They lost to Golden State, even though he got criticized for that. There's no shame in losing to Steph Curry and the now 4-time champions. If they had lost to Denver this year, it wouldn't have been any shame. It would have been disappointing, but you lose to Jokic, everybody would have been like, hey, you just ran into a juggernaut. Now, Dallas, which didn't even make the playoffs last year, which we get their reasonings, but still, Luka is younger than Jason Tatum. It doesn't seem that way because Luka's been great for so long, but he's 25, Tatum's 26. OKC is going to be better. Minnesota's going to be better next year. Milwaukee and Philly will be back. Like, this is the year. You had the easiest path in NBA history.
Goodness gracious.
Right? No 50-win teams that they have to play. And even when they played those teams, they didn't have their best players for at least half the series. So it is all set up for you to win. So if you don't, you're going to have to wonder, okay, can Tatum lead us? And two, I don't think they would trade him. But do you look again at, okay, we'll at least listen to what teams are saying for Jaylen Brown or even maybe Tatum, but they may revamp. But I want to say this, Ephraim. I don't think, and you brought up kind of he could become a full-fledged superstar. I feel like, and I want to know if you agree or disagree, I feel like he doesn't get the level of respect that his accolades warrant. 3-time All-NBA, 5 times in the Eastern Conference Finals. People can say, well, he hasn't won yet. He's 26. Jordan, LeBron, Olajuwon, Shaq, they hadn't won at 26 either. So I kind of feel like he doesn't really get the full respect that he deserves. Like, they won 64 games. He's the best player. He doesn't even finish in the top 5 MVPs.
All right, so some really good topics, some really good points by these two, right? And so the first thing I want to touch on is that Ephraim Salam was talking about how we are still waiting for Tatum to take over the league based on what we saw from him earlier. And I think that's fair because Giannis has won since he's been in the league. Jokic has won and won multiple MVPs. SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's now on the rise as a player. Ant-Man, he's on the rise. And so if one of these guys, not Jokic, because Jokic has already won in Giannis, but let's say Luka wins this finals or SGA wins the next one or Ant-Man or something like that. The question now is, in the minds of people, can Tatum catch up? And then also, these are all guys that have finished high in the MVP voting or have won MVPs. So you have multiple factors that's getting in the way of Tatum taking over. And here's the other thing. It's not even just if Tatum wins a championship with the Celtics this year. I think for people to look at him the way that we want to look at him based on his skill set, I believe that he's a guy that has to he has to take over. He has to get busy. Maybe not dominate, not saying average 40 or 35, but he has to clearly be the guy, be the catalyst, and be the guy, the reason that they win this championship this year. And so the second part, when Chris Broussard was asking the question about the respect factor, is he getting enough respect that he deserves, or Broussard thinks that he's not getting enough respect? Well, that's simple, because I talked about that earlier in this segment. He must win. At the end of the day, he must win. He's not playing for OKC. He's not playing for Minnesota. He's not playing for Sacramento. He is playing for the Boston Celtics. When you play for the Celtics, you play for the Lakers, and now maybe the Spurs. The only thing that matters are championships. You're on that level in those programs. So he has to win. That's why he's not getting the quote-unquote respect that you think he should deserve, because he hasn't won yet. And yeah, he's young. He's still only 26, but he has 6 trips to the Eastern Conference Finals. So now the question is, at what point do you break through? You're not 26 still trying to, scratch and claw and climb the mountain. You've been to the mountaintop. Well, not to the mountaintop. You've been almost to the mountaintop, right? So the question is, at what point are you going to get the job done? At what point are you going to go all the way up and plant your flag? This is your second time in the finals. You got to get it done. And when you get it done, Chris Broussard knows this. He's covered the league for over 30 years. When he gets it done, he will get said respect that he's due. He is a Boston Celtic. That's not like being anyone else other than a Laker. That's just what it is. He has to win. When he wins, all that is taken care of. If he wins and he's the guy, all that is taken care of. All right. So before we finish up with this topic, let's also hear from legendary longtime sports writer for the Boston Globe, Bob Ryan. This is a guy who's been around so much Boston greatness from, I want to say he was an intern with the Boston Globe in the 60s. So, he saw the end of the dynasty with the great Mr. Russell. He saw, Dave Cowens and Hondo Havlicek in the mid 70s. Obviously, he saw Larry Bird and McHale and Bill Walton and those guys, Robert Parrish in the mid 80s. And then, of course, the big three, Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. And now he's watching this. So let's hear what he had to say about it.
Well, one of the problems when you come along in Boston is that you're now bucking the history. You're now being thrust into the history. Of course, we've had some duos, of course, starting out with Cousy and Russell, and later Cowens and Havlicek, shall we say, and of course Bird and McHale. But Parrish makes three. Yeah, and now the latest one, of course, when the championship was Garnett and Pierce and Allen. Okay, Garnett and Pierce. They're making their mark there. They need a ring that fully enter into the discussion. But both the Tatum, particularly his historical ranking. We've got a Rushmore or all-time five kind of thing going, and he's knocking on the door to get included in that all-time five thing. There's no doubt. They're not the same player. They're different. He and Brown. I think they've become very complementary. That's what an E as well as I, and it's a formidable duo, and they can go out and get you 60, and they've done it. More than once. They've each had 30-point games. Tatum has made himself into a pretty damn good defender. Brown, originally, that was his calling card. And he's back playing the way he once played defense. The big problem with Brown has been ball handling and turnovers and bad judgment and dribbling into crowds. And he doesn't go to his left particularly well even now. But boy, does he go to his right strong. And he's a great finisher. And his three-point shooting has gotten better. In the current NBA, they're in the discussion as the best duo, and 64 wins is certainly a testament to that. And you're right. Your skepticism is warranted. That's still the story here. Until they do it, people are not fully buying into any historical greatness or anything like that until they win a championship, until they you have to figure somewhere along the way you're going to have to do it in the finals by winning a close game. You're not going to win 4 games by 20. That final exam, it's a final exam. And we'll see how they pass. It's pass-fail.
All right, so we heard what Bob Ryan had to say, and I think there's very few people who know Boston Celtics basketball who obviously didn't suit up for the Celtics any better than Bob Ryan does. And so I'll pretty much leave it there. It's pass or fail, and that's what it is, man. You play for that organization. That's it. There's pass or fail. So only got one in the chat. If you want to go ahead and call in, give me your thoughts on this and the NBA Finals. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, you can definitely do that. If not, I will go ahead and take it to the final topic for the night before we get out of here. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and we'll move on to the final topic. All right. This one I thought was interesting. It kind of just popped up across my timeline, so I wanted to touch on it briefly. And yeah, let me give my thoughts on it, and then that'll be it for the night. Okay, so James Harden and Kobe Bryant. So I recently, this came across my timeline, as I mentioned, saw this article from fadeawayworld.net, and it said that James Harden has Kobe Bryant as the GOAT for him. And so this gets back to, obviously the GOAT debate, which for whatever reason, many people think is between LeBron and Michael Jordan. And I can't fathom why that is, or why that is supposedly between those two. And I keep getting back to it. For me, there's other guys that should be in there. It should be Kareem. It should be Magic. And obviously Kobe, but how it's been built up over these years is LeBron and Michael Jordan. And again, the question is how Kobe got skipped is just beyond me. But James Harden is another one of the players that has Kobe as the greatest of all time. And so here was his comment from the article. So I thought it was kind of interesting that it was less about basketball and more about feeling, but we'll get to that in a bit. So James Harden says, quote, "There was only one person who made me fall in love with the game, and that's Kobe Bryant. Being from LA and being a Lakers fan, watching him grow up and win several championships, and his passion and his love and what he did for this game of basketball, I think the world, feels the same way. But that's why I started playing basketball. The skill set and things that I've learned, I kind of picked up on my own. But as far as falling in love with the game, it's definitely been Kobe." So I respect that. When James Harden says he's got Kobe as his GOAT, it seems to be more sentimental, and he's talking more about how Kobe made him feel about the game of basketball. So I respect that, and I'm sure maybe there are some guys who feel that way about LeBron. I think what's this guy's name? Jason Timpf. He does a podcast. I think it's called Hoops Tonight. It's on the Volume Podcast Network, and he actually breaks down X's and O's a lot. And he says he feels that way about LeBron. LeBron made him love the game. And so I'm like, okay, cool. So, it's different players inspire different feelings in people. Like me, you guys know Hakeem Olajuwon is my favorite player of all time. I say it all the time. I loved the way that guy played, but I loved basketball before I loved Dream. So I don't think there's any one player that made me love basketball. I love the game. And then, you see the players that you love, or you love the way they played, and you become a fan of those guys. So it's always interesting to me when I hear people talk about how a particular player made them fall in love with the game. So that's interesting. But I guess that also speaks to what that player could do in terms of their artistry as a player, and how it made people feel. So I remember years ago, it's on, if you go look up NBA Superstars 1, that was a compilation of videos, and each player had a song or whatever, and it was like a highlight reel on the song. And at the beginning, Magic Johnson, his song was "I Will Remember You." I think it's by Patty Austin. And so at the beginning, he says, "You play this game for 3 reasons: to win, to have fun, and to make people happy." And so when I hear James Harden talking about how Kobe made him feel, it makes me flash back. I can see Magic smiling, and I can hear him say it in that NBA Superstars video. And so that's really cool. So I kind of get the inspiration that you get from different players and how it makes you feel. Because to this day, I'll watch Larry Bird highlights or Magic Johnson highlights or Hakeem Olajuwon or Michael Jordan or whoever, Charles Barkley, and I'm just like, man, it stirs something within me, because that was my formative time as a basketball fan. But anyway, getting back to the topic, to me, this is really interesting because this is yet another really good to great player that doesn't just hop over Kobe for LeBron in the GOAT debate. So remember, Shaq, who most people has as the top 10 player of all time, maybe top 5 or 6 center of all time, depends on who you are and how you have him rated, but he's right in there. He always makes it a point to say, don't forget Kobe. Like, he doesn't understand either how in this GOAT debate, people just skip right over Kobe and leave him out, right? And so James Harden, for a lot of people, is an all-time great player and a top 10 shooting guard of all time. I guess we could argue that. I would have to go down the list. He might be, he might not be. I'm really not sure I agree with that. But the point is, he had an incredible stretch with the Houston Rockets. James Harden, for a while, he was pretty special. He could do it. And so you watch this guy, and it was amazing, the stuff that he was doing, which I'm just like, wow. I used to watch, and I'm like, how is this dude cooking people like this? I never could figure it out. But obviously he was doing it. And he's another one who was sneaky athletic. In his prime, he could dunk on you. Look, he just caught Draymond right there. He could put you in the rim in his prime. He was sneaky athletic. But yeah, so James Harden, he could handle, he could pass, he could shoot, he could score. Now, a lot of that had to do with Mike D'Antoni's system. Mike D'Antoni's system made Jeremy Lin go off, right? I mean, a lot of people can go off in that system, but at the same time, he still had to put the ball in the basket all those times, right? There's no system that could put the rock in the hole for you. So while the system can make it easier for you to find yourself in positions to do it, that was a crazy move right there. If you when you watch this, behind the back, through the legs, whoop, gotcha. That was pretty good. But yeah, so Yeah, James Harden, man, he was special when he was at his best. So regardless of what I think or where I rank him or don't rank him, he was a heck of a player. So now Harden is a guy who he played against LeBron for his entire career. He played against Kobe for many years, right? He did all this. So I'll say this. Thinking about it and thinking about his commentary, he might be kind of biased growing up in California and watching Kobe with the Lakers, but even still, playing against both, I think that it's pretty interesting that he clearly chooses Kobe as the GOAT. Now, again, a lot of that might be emotional, but here's the questions you have to ask when it comes to that discussion. Why do so many people who played against Michael Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron, or even against just Kobe and LeBron, put LeBron last out of all three? Why does that keep happening? If LeBron is supposed to be what Clutch Sports tells you and what LeBron tells you, why does that keep happening? Now, I know you LeBron fanboys are already breathing hard and getting upset, and you already call me a hater and light up my comments with all types of whatever, and that's cool. Hey, I love the interaction. I appreciate you. But don't get upset at me, right? Get upset at those players who are putting Kobe above your boo. Not me. I'm not the one doing it. Well, I am doing it. I'm doing it too because I do believe Kobe is better than LeBron. But get upset at those players, right? Since I don't know what I'm talking about because I never played and I'm just old head hater. Talk to those guys who played, right? They don't know what they're talking about either, right? So I get it. LeBron, he wins the stats argument if you're having this debate. I get it. But he doesn't win the winning argument, even though he played with more help. That's the other thing we got to look at. He had more help and he won less. Like, I don't know how we keep discarding that or just disavowing that. So let's do this. What about the eye test? What about the eye test? Anyone who just watches Kobe and LeBron can clearly see who is the more skilled player. I'm gonna show you some Kobe stuff here, and you can't tell me that LeBron can do this. So we look at this right here. I love this. Is just an effort play. Now we know LeBron can do this. We know he can do the chase down block. But if you listen to Nick Wright and everybody, LeBron is the only one who's ever done a chase down block. But just look at Kobe's skill set. Look at how easily he split that trap right there. So Shaq comes out to set the pick. They get off the pick and they try to blitz him, and he just split the trap easily. Kobe, monster in the mid range. LeBron can't say that. Kobe, monster with the footwork. Beautiful. Just beautiful what he's doing. Just look at this guy. Like LeBron don't have any of this stuff in his speaking of LeBron, gotcha. LeBron doesn't have this stuff in his arsenal. And has he had an incredibly great career? Yes, there's no question about it. But I can't see how anybody who says that they know basketball can look at LeBron and say he's better. Like it just doesn't add up. Like, what are you watching? Like, look at what Kobe was doing. Deadly in the mid-range, better in the post, footwork far superior, just as good in the clutch, if not better. I think LeBron and Kobe are both tied with 8 buzzer beaters all time in their careers. And they played around the same amount of time, right? Kobe had a better handle. Kobe was a better man-on defender. And again, he didn't try to cheat the game. That's what we keep getting back to. He didn't try to cheat the game. So when you go back and you look at what Kobe has accomplished in his career, you look at how hard he worked on his game, right? Because LeBron, he works tremendously hard on his body, right? We know that. But Kobe worked on his body and his game to become the best player he possibly could be. He maximized his skill set to become pretty much unguardable. Can we say that about LeBron? Now, LeBron is so physically gifted that most people can't, deal with him, his strength and his speed. But the skill set being unguardable, nah. Then when people said that Kobe rode Shaq's coattails to the first 3 chips, which is a lie, just go do the research. I don't have to tell you. He said, okay, cool. It's me or Shaq. I'll prove I don't need him, right? So Shaq gets sent out and he makes 3 more trips to the finals and he wins 2 more championships. He didn't have another top 50 or top 75 teammate. That's a fact. He didn't go try to load up and build an all-star team. That's a fact. He forced the Lakers to give him a little bit of help, and he got busy, and he got 3 more trips to the finals and 2 more titles. That has to mean something. It has to. There's now what we call the Mamba mentality when it comes to King James there's only LeBron liability. I mean, it is what it is, right? I think we can all agree that Anthony Davis is better than Pau Gasol, right? Even though Gasol at his peak was pretty good. But I think we can agree that Anthony Davis is better than Pau Gasol, right? Kobe didn't have an Anthony Davis. He had a Pau Gasol, but he won with him. So we keep getting back to the basics here. Kobe did not have the help that LeBron James did. He did not. He didn't. But somehow he still was better and still won more. Ray Allen has Kobe ahead of LeBron, and he played with and against both, right? Well, he played with LeBron in his peak. He played against LeBron at his peak. He played against peak Kobe, and he played against Michael Jordan at the end of his prime. But yet, Ray Allen, when asked about his all-time starting five, he has LeBron coming off the bench. How? He's an old head hater, right? He don't know because he didn't play. Oh, he did. He's a Hall of Famer. My bad. Right? Okay. Grant Hill played against all three of them. He played against prime Michael Jordan, right? He doesn't have LeBron ahead of Kobe or Mike. Vince Carter, he asked the question, why isn't Kobe mentioned in the debate? And he played against all three, right? He played against MJ at the end of his prime. He played against Kobe and LeBron in their primes. He's got LeBron behind the other two. We can do this all night. We can do this all night, but you should be getting the point by now. When you take shortcuts like LeBron did, no matter how many numbers you put up, right? No matter how many stats you try to stack, no matter how much you try to manipulate the media, those who know. Kobe was playing to win, and his constant pursuit of winning is what made him so great, just like Michael Jordan. And other guys saw that, and James Harden is one of those guys. All right, so that's the end of this topic. And before we get out of here, if anybody wants to call in, give your thoughts on James Harden having Kobe as his greatest player of all time, or give your thoughts on anything we talked about tonight, I'd love to hear it. So I'm going to hang on here for a couple of minutes, and if I don't get any calls, then I'll let you go. But yeah, you're free to call 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. All right, team. Well, looks like we're not going to be taking any calls for the rest of the night, or no one's calling in, I should say. I would take them if somebody was calling. But listen, I appreciate y'all. Appreciate your feedback, your interaction. Thanks for coming in. Make sure you're sharing the show. Make sure you're coming back. We'll be back again, Saturday night for the next one. Looking forward to it. And I'm out. Peace.